Hello and welcome to Mann's Model Moments. Now, I went through Airfix's new releases on a stream immediately after the announcement, but I thought I'd condense that as a video together with the traffic light system I used in the Italieri release stream to make it easier for people to digest. Now, I'm going to approach these in the same way in each video for consistency, going through new tools, kits with new parts, and then straight reissues, including those with new schemes, before tackling releases of kits that were not originally tooled by the company. In each category, I'll go in the order of military aircraft, civilian aircraft, military vehicles, civilian vehicles, naval, and then space, sci-fi and figures. I'll also be giving the kits a good, okay or bad traffic light rating with a brief explanation of why I think that's the case. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. First up is the Phantom FG1 in 1/48 scale for $74.99. This is a great announcement. It's a hugely popular subject. The British FG1 isn't represented in 1/48 scale, and it plays to Airfix's strength in Cold War British subjects. Solid green light here. Now, some may question the pricing, but this is exactly the same as Meng's F4G in 1/48 scale, and a lot less than Tamiya's gold standard F4B, so I think it's pitched at about the right level. Also an underrepresented Cold War British subject, the English Electric Canberra in 1/72 scale is also very welcome. Priced pretty keenly at $29.99, I think this is one of the standouts of this release. The main competition here is the AMP kit of the same version, which is twice the price. The next one is one that has a lot of people excited, the Ju-52 in 1/72. This was a great announcement until I saw the price of $41.99, which seems high both in comparison with other similarly sized subjects in the market and even Airfix's own announcement. This is 40% more than the preceding Canberra, which is about the same size. As such, it's a yellow from me. Great subject, but a little too rich to get a green. Now, the best alternative out there is the Italieri kit, which is around £30 for the 1977 tool, although it's still not a bad kit. It must have been way ahead of its time when released. Next for new tools is another solid green in the form of the Alvis Saracen, a British Cold War APC that is demonstrably lacking from the injection moulded kit sphere. The price is good and this should sell like hotcakes, the main prior alternative coming from the now defunct Accurate Armour. The only currently available 1/35th kit of this subject is a multimedia kit at over twice the price, so the Airfix kit is very welcome. Okay, that's all the new tools. Now let's look at kits with new parts. First up is the Special Operations version of the Lysander that everyone wanted and asked for when the original kit was announced last year. It's great to see Airfix respond so rapidly to the original release, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of these on displays in future, making it a solid green. Another kit hot on the heels of its 2025 release is the T2/T4 version of the Jaguar. It's still a little pricey, but you're getting twice the cockpit components here, and there's no change in price, which I think is pretty good, so not quite a solid green release, but still very good. A little later than its original form a few years ago now, the Sea King appears as the HAR version everyone in the UK was hoping for. Giving people what they want is an excellent sales strategy, so another solid green release here. After commendably correcting their original Cromwell kit in 2025, Airfix are now releasing a close support variant. It's not that much different to the original, and with the other release being so recent, this isn't anything earth-shattering, but decent enough, especially if you've not already done an Airfix Cromwell. Now, with a common theme of modifying recent releases, the 2025 Stalwart gets an hydraulic limber, giving a very different spin on the original, and a green light. Here's your chance to make a properly dirty Stalwart. To the largest category now, and reissues. First up is the 1/24 scale Hellcat, which is a beast of a kit, and it would have been a solid green release if not for the slightly wallet-withering price of £150. Now, the Garnet is still available in this form, but the addition of Australian markings is a nice one, making it on the positive side of okay. People have been wanting the return of the Lightning for a while, and although you can find it second-hand at shows or on eBay, prices are usually high. I really like this sort of release as it curbs that price gouging and gives everyone a chance to build this kit, which although not comparable to the most recent toolings, is still a very nice one. Now, not much to say about the Vampire here. It's a nice re-release at a standard price, but its recent availability means it's just a yellow. The same can be said of the Ju-87 here, a great kit but not one that you can't already get, so another yellow. A better release for me is the Mark 1F version of the Blenheim, which is both a lovely kit and hasn't been available for a while. Prices on eBay are more than the RRP here, so again a very welcome return. The Airfix Legends is a concept I want to like without really thinking the execution is that good. The first is for Douglas Bader in 1/48 scale and features a Bulldog, Hurricane and Spitfire with his markings at a modest saving. A nice idea, but I'm not sure how successful it will be. I think I prefer the flexibility of individual kits myself. The mighty Shackleton in 1/72 scale, however, I think is a great addition to the range, and the Suez Crisis box art looks fabulous. It's a lot of plain for the money and hasn't been around for a decade, so this is a solid green. The Revell kit was released around the same time, and examples of eBay command upwards of £130, so I think this Airfix release is great. Now, the availability of this B25 kit makes the release here a solid yellow for me. It's fine, but nothing to rush out for. Our first solid red of the Airfix releases, the F117A here, is a mystery to me. Yes, it has the nice stars and bar scheme, but that's been done many times before and it's available in the aftermarket, and I can't see that justifying the £30 price tag. Just for comparison, the Revell example is less than £20, and so is the Hasegawa kit, both of which are newer tools. You can also find even cheaper kits of this subject, and I think I got the Airfix tool in a Hellerbox for £5 at a show, so it's not one I could recommend here. The Kate returns for the anniversary of Pearl Harbor at what might seem a rather high $24.99. If you adjust for inflation, however, this is exactly the same price as it was on release. I guess the question is whether it always felt a little pricey for a single-engined World War II bomber. Sticking with the Pearl Harbor theme, we have the Wildcats return at $11.99, which is a good price, I think. And also the P40B at $8.99, which is also a great price for a relatively recently tooled 1/72 scale subject. Now substitute the Wildcat for a Zero, add some paintbrushes, cement and paint, and you get this anniversary set, which is a decent entry, I think. The F86 Sabre in 1/72 scale returns, which is another okay but nothing special release. I want to like this anniversary set, but I think the absence of a Vigan and the £60 price point don't really justify it. You could buy the 4 recent kits for £49, meaning you're paying £11 for an ancient Draken and some Swedish decals. It just doesn't feel special to me. If it had included the Vigan as well, then maybe. I guess it's there for those that want it. This is another concept I like, but I'm not particularly sold on the execution. Part of this is because the recent Eurofighter is a strangely challenging build because of the way it is made. Still, this isn't bad value and I like the concept, so it's kind of neutral for me. The two fabulous schemes elevate this and make this the standout of the trio of these boxings, but the price increase on this pairing prevents it from being a solid green. I'm guessing this was released because of the Pearl Harbor anniversary, but sometimes less is more. At £25 there are better kits out there than this venerable offering. Like the Academy PBYs, which are the same price, infinitely better and available in a variety of incarnations. Now, the old Dyna from Airfix is not the best kit, but it's not bad, and an RRP under £10 makes the difference here on what is an attractive and reasonably sized aircraft. Like the Dyna, £10 can get you a Dauntless, but it's smaller and its shortcomings are greater. Fine if you want it, but again, not one to get excited about. Now a kit for just over a fiver is a rare thing these days, and although it's going to be challenging, that's a fair bit of modelling for the price of a pint and a packet of crisps. An RRP of £21.99 means you're going to be able to get this very unusual and fairly sizable aircraft for £20, complete with cartograph decals for the Olympic Airways scheme. That's a solid green without a doubt. It ties in with the 1/35th scale release, though 1/76 is not a popular scale, so the main reasons to buy this are either space restrictions or nostalgia. Recent companies like Flyhawk and Vespid do these sorts of subjects in 1/72nd scale much better than this old kit in 1/76th, and for not that much more money, so this is really a nostalgia build, I think. Compared to the Vickers tank, the crash recovery set looks excellent value, and it allows a lot of potential uses in dioramas and the like. However, am I the only one to notice that the box art got reversed here? Now the Leopard 1 is quite well covered in many scales, but if you fancy rebuilding this from your youth, it's not a huge investment. Again, an iconic Cold War British subject, this little chieftain gets a bit more traction for me than the Leopard, being less well represented. The Centurion is another Cold War classic, though perhaps not quite as recognisable and distinctive as the Chieftain. The Matilda Mark II is a solid little tank, and this is a solid little release at £6.99. It also gives you plenty of opportunity to play with Cornter schemes on a tank, which is always fun. HMS Prince for £40. Okay, if you want one, you want one. Other than the fact that it's good to see Airfix make these available again, there's not much more to say here. The hovercraft, however, is again Airfix playing to its strengths. eBay examples are well over £100, but now you get to build this rare kit for £40 RRP, which means about £35 on the high street. Solid win, and thank you Airfix. The next few releases, however, are the opposite for me, I'm afraid. 1/600 scale ships. Yes, they are full hull. Yes, they are a bit bigger than 1/700 scale, but that does not justify a £30 price point for the King George V. Certainly not when the Tamiya kit is half that price. Nor the Prinz Eugen for £25, which was tooled in 1975, when the Tamiya one is the same price but tooled 25 years later in 2000. The same goes for the Scharnhorst at £21.99 versus Tamiya's £13.50, and also the HMS Nelson. It's not really until we get to the County class heavy cruiser represented by HMS Suffolk that we get a good release here, and then we flip. This is only £15.99 RRP. Whereas HMS Kent from Aoshima is £27, though it is a 21st century tool. The point here is that you can choose if you want old and cheap, or newer and more expensive. The Tribal class HMS Cossack then comes along at a very low price of £6.99, which again is extremely commendable, considering that modern equivalents are closer to the £20 mark. One of the worst releases in the Airfix 2026 range, however, I think is the Sink the Bismarck set, a collection of 1/1200 scale ships with paint etc. that might appeal to children but will absolutely disappoint them. I'd rather this wasn't a thing at all, to be honest. Another retro fail for me is the rather poor One Small Step for Man set, which consists of the 1/72nd scale lunar lander, a set of vinyl astronauts and a base for a whopping £40. No thank you. This just feels like cash grabbing based on the upcoming Artemis launch. Now a surprising one here is the Roman Fort set. Not for the figures, and not really for the target market, but as a terrain piece for wargamers and D&D players, this is pretty good value. Even more in theme for D&D is the Sherwood Castle set, so again, not for the traditional Airfix market, but a potential sleeper hit with wargamers and RPG players. We now move on to the final category, that of non-original tools. The first of these is only a half non-Airfix tooling, as the Hurricane in the genus set is that from Armour Hobby. This actually brings quite a lot of value to this set, though it's perhaps the least visually attractive scheme of the 3 Typhoon pairings. Last up in the Airfix release schedule for 2026, outside of surprise announcements and not including the separate flowers range, check out my interview with Dale on those if you've not already seen it, is the Tactical Refueler, which is another of the JMB toolings Airfix acquired. This is ideal for Cold War airfield dioramas, so not bad at all. So if we now look at all the releases here that I've given a green rating for, that is 20 out of the 53 total, or just under 40% of the releases. They cover a good range of subjects and scales too. The only real people that miss out are civilian vehicle modelers, an area that Airfix are not traditionally strong in over recent years. Those models that don't quite make a solid green but are still positive make up another 13 kits, or an additional 24% of the announcement, meaning almost 2/3 of the range is positive, and why I think it feels like such a good set of releases. We then get another 11 kits which are more neutral for one reason or another, price, prior availability, etc., but certainly not detracting from the range. Kits which are welcome but probably aren't going to have you running to get your wallet out. We only have a single release here with a bit of a negative bent to it, and that's going to be subjective, but for me any celebration of the Swedish Air Force that isn't including a Draken, Viggen, and probably a Gripen too, isn't really providing due service to the subject. Finally, there are 8 releases that I just don't really see the point of. Better, more cost-effective models already exist in the market, or their introduction seems like it might actually put people off the hobby. I couldn't recommend any of these personally, but they only make up a small amount, just 15% of the announcement, which is pretty good, as we will see when I come to some of the other range announcements in coming videos. Overall, this is a really solid release for Airfix. Even without surprise announcements, I think it's one of the best of recent years, and I hope it's successful for them and ensures they get more money and attention within the Hornby group, because I think they deserve it. That's all for this instalment of Mann's Model Moments. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel for more like it, and share this video with others you think would also enjoy it. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, and if you're feeling generous then I also have a Patreon, which is absolutely the best way of helping me to grow the channel and produce more content like this. With that, I hope you have plenty of modelling moments of your own, and I look forward to welcoming you on the next video.